Join us for an amazing hot air balloon flight over Teotihuacan. Our plan started by booking our trip on Get Your Guide. Being Amex holders, we were able to save 10% using the affiliated website. Our trip included transportation from a hotel in Mexico City. We met out front at 4:45 a.m. and soon we were on our way to the airport about 45 minutes away. Checked in and were greeted with a small continental breakfast. While waiting for the rest of the groups to show up and check in, we were able to watch all of the balloons get set up and tested. The sheer amount of workers and their coordination to get 30 plus balloons ready to fly in about an hour was an impressive feat. Soon we were called over to the heated outdoor waiting area for our names to be called. We would also note, while this area of Mexico gets pretty warm during the day, in the morning the temperatures average about 50 degrees Fahrenheit. We definitely recommend sweaters and long pants. Soon our name was called and we gathered around our designated balloon just as it was uprighted. Climbing into the balloon involved stepping into the foot openings and climbing in. We saw many other passengers wearing dresses and heels, so we could only imagine the awkwardness this created getting in.
Before we take off, very important safety instructions, okay?
Our pilot gave us pre-flight safety instructions and soon he was heating up the air to get us aloft. We started to float along with what seemed like dozens of other balloons. It was an amazing sight to see all these balloons in the sky at the same time. Even more amazing is to think that they do this every morning. The local residents definitely get a show every day. As we got closer to the sun pyramid, the pilot let out some air to decrease our altitude, and we caught a crosswind which allowed the balloon to fly right over the top of it. After floating around for another 10 minutes or so, the pilot started looking for a landing spot and lowering us down. He explained to us that he can't exactly control where he lands, so he is in constant radio contact with the ground crew. Once an ideal spot is picked, the crew meets the balloon to grab the guide ropes and ground us. The landing was just as smooth as the takeoff and barely noticeable. Once the crew guided the basket back onto the trailer, the pilot opened up the top of the balloon to start deflating it. While the crew worked to fold up the balloon, the pilot pulled out a bottle of champagne.
Actually, this is a tradition that began in the first balloon ride of the history. Do you know when was it? The first one? It was in 1783. Imagine that the ones that invented the balloon, the legend says that they were flying across the day. But in the moment of the landing, the people around them, instead of getting happy, they said, "Oh, what's that? Is that a demon? Is that a witch?" So they took the weapons and went to kill them. And they say, no, we're human and we have wine. So please come and let's celebrate that we have reached one of the most important dreams of the human, that is to fly. Ahí les va, y a matar. So at 1, 2, 3, salud!
Salud!
Thank you for flying with us. Thank you so much.
We took a quick van ride back to the office where we were presented with flight certificates.
Thank you. Debra?
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bonor? Thank you.
The flight was done and we were invited to take part in the included breakfast. The meal consisted of nopales, chilaquiles, frijoles, and huevos ranchero. While eating, a mariachi band showed up to play songs and to serenade tables. Our trip included transportation over to the Archaeological Zone to see the pyramids up close. While the entrance fee isn't included, the cost is only 90 pesos, or about $5.50 US dollars. Children under 13 are free. The van dropped us off at Gate 4 behind the Sun Pyramid. This is important, as I'll explain later. We arrived about 9:30 a.m. and were told to be back at 1 p.m. to catch the van back to Mexico City. While visitors cannot climb to the top of the pyramids anymore, you can and need to climb the wall surrounding them. Be careful though, as the steps are very narrow. We took in the amazing views and marveled on how such monuments could have been built almost 2,000 years ago. We strolled down the Avenue of the Dead, where the local merchants set up to sell a wide variety of souvenirs. At the end of the road, you will encounter the Moon Pyramid. While slightly smaller than the Sun Pyramid, it is no less impressive. There is so much history at this site that we would not be able to do it justice in this video. There are creators that have videos that explain every nuance of these monuments and the archaeological site. We suggest searching for those for a complete overview into the history of Teotihuacan. We ended up completing our visit in about 2 hours and didn't feel like waiting another hour and a half for the van. We ended up requesting an Uber back to Mexico City, and it was a modest $25 charge for the 45-minute trip. Earlier, I mentioned getting dropped off at Gate 4. While this gate is terrific if your goal is to see the largest pyramid, the Sun, it is not the best gate. Something we didn't know was that the main entrance is at Gate 1. It is here that there are 2 museums and the Temple of the Serpent. Because we didn't know these areas were there, we completely missed out on some very important parts of Teotihuacan. So please get a map when you arrive and be sure not to make the same mistake we did. We hope you enjoyed our video, and if you ever had the opportunity to take a balloon flight over Teotihuacan, you should absolutely do it.